The fastest way to lose money in real estate isn't buying at the wrong time. It's sitting on the sidelines waiting for a market that never arrives. For the past 2-3 years, I've been hearing buyers say the same prediction. We're going to wait. The prices, they're going to come down again. The rates, they're going to come down again. Inventory is going to explode. And here we are in the middle of June of 2026. Your home prices are still climbing. Your buyers are still competing. I have many stories of buyers being beat out. Sellers are still receiving multiple offers, 11, 12, 30 offers. And mortgage rates are still hanging in that 6% range. So, what's really happening? Why have we suddenly seen more than 1,000 additional listings hit the market here from April to May of 2026? Why are buyers still acting like it's 2021 in some of these price ranges? And why are homeowners who are locked in at 3% mortgages suddenly deciding to move away? Today, I'm going to break down the Connecticut housing market now that we are 6 months into 2026. We're going to compare May of 26 to earlier this year. We're going to actually compare it all to 2025. We're going to compare it to 2024. I'm going to give you 10 key takeaways that every buyer and seller needs to understand right now. Because the headlines are telling a completely different story than the data. The data is telling a different story. So let's dive in. And if you stick around to the end, I'm going to show you the live MLS and exactly where this data is found as of today, June 9th of 2026. For those of you who are new to the channel, I'm Devon with Dave Jones Realty, and I am based in Middletown, Connecticut. I cover all of Middlesex County, parts of New Haven County, and Hartford counties, but in all honesty, I really cover all of Connecticut. I'm also licensed in Florida, and I've been an agent for almost 20 years. I decided to get my license in the summer of 2008, and we all know what happened then. The market completely crashed. I didn't sell one house. I didn't sell my first house until 2012. So I know firsthand what a market crash looks like, and I'm here to tell you, this isn't it. It is not coming, so stop listening to the national headlines. I'm going to keep it real, honest, and specific for Connecticut. So let's start with the number one that everyone cares about, and that's going to be home values. If you've been waiting for prices to crash, Connecticut continues to disappoint you. The statewide median in May reached approximately $455,000, and that is up 7%. 7% from the same month last year. Think about that for a second. Rates have been in the 6% range. Affordability is challenging. Inventory has increased, yet prices are still climbing more than 7% year over year. So let's zoom out. Back in 2024, the statewide median was $400,000. By the end of 2025, it was $425,000, and now we're sitting at $455,000. That is an approximate 14% appreciation in 2 years. Nationally, it's typically 4% year over year. So if someone sat on the sidelines in 2024 waiting for prices to fall, they're now paying that much more, 14% more for the exact same house. That's one of the biggest lessons that buyers need to understand. Waiting is not savings. Sometimes waiting is simply paying more later. In the real estate world, we have a joke that we say, the best time to buy a house was yesterday, and the second best time to buy a house is today. So what are you waiting for? Point number 2, buyers have accepted this new normal. For most of 2023 and 2024, buyers were stuck. They weren't necessarily refusing to buy, but they were refusing to accept the reality. Again, we're going to wait and see if the rates get back into the 4s. We're going to wait and see if the rates get back into the 5s. We're going to wait and see if the feds cut the rates. Well, guess what? The market waited, the buyers waited, and the rates went higher. At some point, buyers stopped waiting for permission and they started adapting because life doesn't care what mortgage rates are. People are still getting married. People are still getting divorced. People are still having babies. People are still getting new jobs. People are still retiring and people are still relocating. The result? Buyers are becoming comfortable with rates in the 6% range, not because they love them. Nobody loves paying more in interest, but because they finally realize that these rates may be around longer than expected. And because they understand that you can always refinance later if the rates fall. You cannot refinance the purchase price, but you can refinance the rate. And for the brief second that the rates dipped into the fives back in February or March of this year, 2 days later, they went back up into the sixes. So unless your lender reached out to you on that Friday and they locked you in at a 5 point whatever, and then you have 90 days to buy a house, it went right back up again. So there's no guarantees that things are going to stay in the fives if they get there. We are at your average, and there'll be a slide that we can go over showing the 50-year mortgage rates, and this is where it feels comfortable for the mortgage world. So, point number 3. Remember all those homeowners who bought during COVID and they're sitting on a 2.75% or 3%? And actually, I helped somebody get a 1.99% interest rate for a 30-year mortgage. 1.99. It starts with a 1. Can you imagine? He's never selling. I told him never to sell. It's a starter home. He's going to rent that out. But for many years, all of these people who have these ridiculously low interest rates, it said they were never going to move. And honestly, why would you, right? Why are you going to give up a 3% mortgage rate for a 6%? It's crazy. But something really interesting is happening. Those homeowners are now reaching that 6 and 7 year mark, and the honeymoon is over. They realize that the house that they bought in 2020 doesn't make sense anymore. They bought it during COVID. They bought it with fogged eyeglasses because of the mask that they were wearing. They were in and out of a house in 15 minutes to make a decision on a $500,000 purchase. People were waiving inspections. People were waiving appraisal. And they don't like their house anymore, but they like their rate. Maybe now they need more space. Maybe they need less space. Maybe they're back to commuting into the New York City and because they got called back to work. Maybe they hate their layout. Or they had more children, or their children have moved on, so the school situation has changed. Or guess what? They're getting ready to retire. The reality is that life eventually becomes more important than the mortgage rate. And many homeowners have accumulated massive equity, $150,000, $250,000, $400,000 of equity. So they're taking that equity and they're rolling it into the next home. Who cares about a 6% rate? They can buy down the rates. So the only reason that we're seeing more inventory hit the market is, it's not the only reason, but it is one reason that we are seeing more inventory hit the market. Number 4, why is inventory suddenly jumping? So this is probably a question that I get asked right now. Devon, where are all these listings come from? Did something happen? Or actually more important, people are saying that there is no inventory and I'm correcting them. They're saying, okay, well then is the market crashing? Are sellers panicking? No. This is normal seasonality. Every single year, inventory rises from winter into spring. Every year. You can look back on the charts. The difference is that we've been living through such an inventory drought since 2020 that normal inventory growth feels shocking. Imagine living in a desert for 5 years, and then somebody hands you a glass of water. It feels like it's a freaking flood. So that's what's happening. Inventory is increasing, but it's increasing from historically low levels. And that's a very important point. For the last 2 to 3 years, I can go on the MLS at any given time and see that there are between 3 and 3,500 homes available for sale. Right now, as of today, there's 4,958 homes available for sale. So about 1,500 more than what has been on the market. This is the post of the spring market. It will dip back down again. 2 weeks ago, there were 600 plus open houses in one weekend in the state of Connecticut. So there is inventory out there. It's just still scarcer than it should be. So that leads right into point number 5. We are still nowhere near a balanced market. A balanced market generally has about 5 to 6 months of inventory. And right now, Connecticut, all of Connecticut is at 2. Middlesex County, 1.5 months. So some areas are even less. So think about that. People hear inventory is up and assume buyers suddenly have unlimited choices, and that simply is not true. Inventory can still increase significantly and still remain low. Both things happen simultaneously. And that's exactly what we're seeing. Yes, there are more homes available than there were 6 months ago. No, we are not swimming in inventory. We're not even close to that. So don't confuse 1,000 more listings with more inventory, because of those 1,000 more listings that got listed, 800 of them went under contract. Point number 6, homes are taking a little longer to sell. Just a little, not that much longer. So let's talk about the days on market. And this is one of my favorite stats because it really just cuts through the noise. In May of 2026, the median days on market was about 10 days. That's just 10 days. That's it. A seller can expect to wait 10 days to go under contract. That's typical in all of Connecticut. Now compare that to many markets around the country. Homes are currently sitting for 60, 90, 120 days in other parts of the country. 10 here in Connecticut is still increasing incredibly fast, but it's slower than the absolute frenzy of previous years. So if someone tells you that Connecticut real estate is slow right now, they're just not looking at the numbers that I am giving to you at this moment. Number 7, multiple offers are still happening. So here's another statistic that is surprising people. Many Connecticut homes are still selling at above asking price. In Middlesex County, it's 1.6% above asking price. If I put the house in the market for $500,000, you can expect it to be $105,000+ that it will close at. That's the median. So think about that. Mortgage rates are still in the 6s. Inventory has increased. Buyers have a few more options, and yet buyers are still competing. And when I say competing, I mean 11, 15, 30 offers on a single house. Why? Because the best house still receives the most attention. It has to be move-in ready. It has to have a good neighborhood. It has to have reasonable taxes, as reasonable as you can get in Connecticut. It has to have decent schools, updated kitchen, and fair, meaning appropriate, pricing. These homes, crazy magnets. Even if they need a little bit of updating, they still are going to be very competitive. So when multiple buyers want the same house, the prices get pushed upwards. That's just simple economics. It's supply and demand. Number 8, and this is a trend that I do expect to continue. The market is becoming increasingly selective. There are two different markets now. Market number 1, well-priced homes, updated homes, move-in ready, desirable locations. These homes move fast, they move with multiple offers on them, and they're going to go over asking price. Market number 2, overpriced homes. Homes with deferred maintenance. Homes chasing yesterday's prices. These homes are going to sit, and then they get price reductions, and then they get ignored. The market is no longer forgiving bad pricing, and honestly, that's healthy for the market. Number 9, if you spend much time watching national real estate news, like I do, you're going to become confused because Connecticut often behaves very differently. Nationally, many markets have softened. We've already talked about it. The house is sitting on the market for 60, 90, 120 days. Connecticut hasn't. Why? Because supply remains incredibly limited. We're also continuing to benefit from strong regional demands. We get the New York buyers, we get the Massachusetts buyers, we get remote workers, a ton of retirees, families looking for more value than neighboring states. The result is a market that remains surprisingly resilient. So while some areas of the country are correcting, Connecticut continues to grind higher. So what happens next? Everybody wants a crystal ball, they want a prediction. So here's mine. Inventory will continue increasing through the summer. That is normal. Buyers will gain slightly more negotiating power. That's also normal. But I don't expect a crash. I don't expect a flood of distressed inventory. And I do not expect the demand to simply disappear. Buyers are not going to just stop looking. What I expect is a healthier version of the market. A market where buyers have choices, a market where sellers still have some leverage, and a market where pricing matters again. And honestly, that is what we need. So I am going to walk you through the MLS as of today and show you real time where some of these numbers are coming from. So I'm going to show you exactly what these numbers look like on the MLS. All right, so this is as of today, again, June 9th, 2026. I have active and coming soon for all of the MLS. Now, this might not include Fairfield County. They do have a different MLS. I think this is just the smart MLS. 4,558 homes are currently for sale. Now, again, those are everything. So I can go into the results here. I'm going to search from lowest amounts, $10,000. This is potentially a rental, 350 square feet. So this is everything, right? Your lowest price point to your highest price point of $75 million. So it is everything. But the other stats that I'm getting is from a system called InfoSparks, and this is directly from closed properties, listed closed properties, all of that on the MLS. So I'm doing the entire MLS. This is median showings to contract. Let me move this. And down here, it has a little thing, May of 2026, 12 showings per contract. You need 12 different buyers' eyeballs to walk through a door to get a contract. And that is down up here on the right-hand side. That is down 7.7% from May of 2025. Sale price, all of the MLS, $430,000 is your median sale price. I can go down through here. In May of 2025, it was $405,000. New listings, 42,000 new listings in May of 2026. 41,877 in May of 2025. So it has increased. Month supply, I'm talking about this before also. 2.3 months. So if every single house of those 4,958 houses went under contract within the next month and not one extra house was listed, we would have zero inventory for buyers. Zero. In 2.5 months. That's really what that would mean. Percent of list price, overall in all of Connecticut, 0.7%. So I was talking earlier, I can go into Middlesex County. And Middlesex County is 0.4% over. And then I can do single family, 0.5% over. So if you list your house for, again, 500,000, you can expect it to have a 0.5% over on your average. Oh, I'm sorry, on your median. Let's do the average. Average 101.9%. That's Middlesex County. And then the last, days on market. So again, back to the entire MLS. Your median days on market is 12. Your average days on market, 28. But median is 12. And that's for all of the MLS. If I do Middlesex County, it's 10. So why am I showing you this data? I'm not making this up. This is what I do every day. Every morning I'm going to get up and I'm going to look at the different statistics and the numbers, and I'm trying to find houses for my buyers. And so I'm going on there and I'm looking at all of the different properties that are available, and I'm running these numbers so that I can make an informed plan for both my buyers and my sellers. From a seller's perspective, they have to know what the buyers are struggling with. They have to know how much money we're going to be listing it for. They have to know what sells a house: price, condition, location. Well, I can't change the location, and I physically can't change the condition. I can give suggestions. What I can help guide them with is the best list price, because as we know, a well-priced house that is updated in a great location is going to sell immediately. If you have other issues that are going on, it may sit for a little bit. So that's just, again, the real time that I wanted to show you. So here's my final thoughts. If there's one thing that you take away from today's video, it's this. The Connecticut housing market is not crashing. It's not. It's evolving. We are seeing more listings. We're seeing slightly longer market times in some areas, right from 8 to 10 days on market. Okay, that's a weekend. We're seeing buyers become more selective. We're also seeing continued price appreciation, continued competition, continued demand. Let me talk about the competition for just 1 second. I had a buyer who a list price of a property was $390,000. We were strategic enough to bring in an inspector during a 30-minute showing to go over the high level of the house. Look at the mechanicals, look at the roof, look at the basement, look at the attic, check the plumbing real quick. All right, 30 minutes to do an inspection, so that when we put in our offer, we were able to waive inspections because we kind of already did it. We had the documentation from when the buyers bought the house on the septic, and it was new. That was 9 years ago. My sellers or my buyers felt comfortable waiving septic inspections, waiving well inspection. We had the inspector there. We did an escalation clause. Our max was $85,000 over asking, and we didn't get it. There were 11 offers. Most of them waived inspections, and the winning offer was cash. So I did say that I would get back to this. Where is the cash coming from? And I've talked about this a couple of times in some other videos. The cash is coming from a couple of different places. Your first-time home buyer's average age now is 40. It used to be like 22, but the average first-time home buyer is 40 years old. They have been stockpiling money, whether they've been strategic and saving money, even though they've been renting, or they've been living with mom and dad or grandma and helping out and saving these down payments and saving this money. So that's number one. Number two, family money. There's a lot of grandparents and parents that have generational money that are providing it to their children. They can go in and make a cash offer. I've even seen where there are parents buying the house cash and then selling it back to their kids so that they can get a mortgage for the same amount of money. There's a lot of strategies to doing things like this, but this is where the cash is coming from. The cash is coming from people who, because they're older and they've been saving their money, or they're coming from the family. So cash is still a really, really big thing. So you have this continued competition. You have this continued demand. And most surprising of 2026 isn't that the inventory increased. It's that the inventory increased, the rates stayed in the sixes, and prices still went up. That's your headline. That's the story, not the national stuff about what everybody else is talking about in California and Texas and Florida and Alabama. It's that here in Connecticut, your inventory increased, your rates went up or stayed in the sixes, and the prices are still going up. So if you're thinking about buying, selling, downsizing, upsizing, or just want to understand what your home's value might be worth today, feel free to reach out. I'm happy to help. I'm happy to go through all the numbers specific to your house. If you found this video helpful, make sure that you subscribe, hit the notification bell, don't miss out on future Connecticut market updates, and share it with a friend who may also have the same questions. I'm Devon with Dave Jones Realty, where we do everything but the packing.